Imagine this. You wake in the dead of night, heart pounding, a faint hum of dread vibrating in your chest. The room is still, the world asleep, yet something gnaws at you, an ache you can't name, a pull toward something you don't understand. You lie there staring at the ceiling, and a question creeps into your mind, sharp and unyielding. Why do you keep chasing pain? Not the obvious kind, broken bones or bruised skin, but the subtle, self-inflicted kind. The late nights spent scrolling through memories that sting, the relationships you cling to despite their thorns, the ambitions that exhaust you yet refuse to release their grip. Why, when you could choose ease, do you lean into suffering? Picture yourself standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind howling, the drop below both terrifying and magnetic. You could step back, find solid ground, but something in you wants to lean forward, to test the fall. It's not just you. This is humanity's strange dance, a universal compulsion to court discomfort, to invite struggle, to seek out the very things that wound us. What is this paradox? Why do we, creatures wired for survival, so often choose paths that lead to anguish? Is it madness? Or is there something deeper, something essential, woven into the fabric of who we are? Consider the moments in your life when you felt most alive. Were they the quiet, contented ones sipping coffee on a sunlit morning, or were they the raw, jagged edges, nights spent wrestling with doubt, days pushing through exhaustion to reach a goal, or the heartbreak that cracked you open and forced you to see the world anew? There's a pulse in those moments, a vitality that comfort rarely offers. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange allure of struggle, as if suffering were a doorway to something greater, something you can't quite name but can't stop chasing. Now imagine a man in a crowded city, briefcase in hand, his life a checklist of successes, job, family, status. Yet, as he walks through the neon glow, he feels hollow, like a husk. He sabotages his marriage with petty fights, works himself to collapse, and seeks out arguments that leave him drained but strangely satisfied. Why does he do this? Why do you, in your own way, do the same? You've stayed up too late, replaying a failure in your mind, dissecting it like a surgeon, as if the pain of it could teach you something vital. You've chosen the harder path, not because it was noble, but because it felt necessary. What is this need? What is this hunger that makes suffering not just inevitable but magnetic? This isn't about masochism or some perverse love of pain. It's about a deeper truth, one that philosophers have wrestled with for centuries, one that poets have bled onto pages, one that you felt in your bones but never fully articulated. What if suffering isn't something you stumble into, but something you seek, not out of weakness, but out of a primal, almost sacred instinct? What if the very act of seeking suffering is what makes you human, what drives you to grow, to create, to become? And yet, what if this same instinct is also your greatest trap, a cycle you can't escape because you don't even see it? Pause for a moment. Feel the weight of that question. Why do you seek suffering? Not why it happens. Accidents, loss, betrayal, but why you, in your quiet moments, choose it. Why you linger on regrets, why you chase goals that break you, why you love what hurts you. This isn't a casual curiosity. It's a reckoning. It's a mirror held up to your soul, demanding you look closer. The answer isn't simple, and it's not what you expect. It's buried in the roots of your psyche, in the stories you tell yourself, in the way humanity has always danced with pain. To understand it, you must go deeper, into the hidden forces that shape your choices, into the shadows where your desires and fears collide. Are you ready to step into that darkness? You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet pull towards suffering, like a tide dragging you out to sea. It's not just a fleeting impulse, it's a force, ancient and relentless, woven into the fabric of your mind. But why? Why does something in you seek out the very thing you claim to avoid? To unravel this, you must dig beneath the surface, into the psychological and philosophical roots of this paradox, where the human soul wrestles with itself. This isn't about random misfortune or external pain. It's about the suffering you choose, the burdens you embrace, the cycles you perpetuate. What drives this compulsion, and why does it feel so essential? Start with the mind. Psychologists like Sigmund Freud saw suffering as a shadow of desire, a consequence of our conflicted drives. Freud argued that humans are torn between the pleasure principle, our instinct to seek joy, and the reality principle, which forces us to confront pain to survive. But what if it's more than that? What if you do not just endure suffering but seek it because it sharpens your sense of self? Carl Jung went further, suggesting that suffering is the crucible for individuation, the process of becoming whole. You suffer, Jung might say, because it forces you to face your shadow, the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. Every time you dwell on a failure or chase a grueling ambition, you're not just hurting, you're searching for meaning, for a piece of yourself hidden in the pain. Philosophers have long grappled with this too. Friedrich Nietzsche, that fierce prophet of human struggle, declared, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." He saw suffering as the forge of greatness, a necessary fire to burn away weakness and reveal resilience. But Nietzsche wasn't glorifying pain. He was pointing to its transformative power. You've felt this, haven't you? The way a heartbreak or a failure reshaped you, carved new depths into your soul. Yet Nietzsche also warned of the danger. If you cling too tightly to suffering, it becomes your identity, a trap you build for yourself. Are you seeking strength, or are you addicted to the struggle? Now consider the societal lens. Culture conditions you to romanticize suffering. From the tortured artist to the self-sacrificing hero, stories glorify those who endure. Think of Vincent van Gogh, cutting off his ear in a frenzy of despair, yet producing art that outlives him. Or consider the myths of Sisyphus, eternally pushing his boulder, finding meaning in the absurd. Society whispers that suffering is noble, that it's the price of greatness. You internalize this, don't you? You chase goals that exhaust you, stay in relationships that wound you, because somewhere deep down, you believe pain is the currency of worth. But what if this is a lie, a collective delusion that keeps you tethered to suffering? Psychologically, this pull is rooted in your brain's wiring. The dopamine system, that engine of motivation, doesn't just reward pleasure. It thrives on anticipation, even when the goal is painful. When you obsess over a lost love or push through a grueling project, your brain lights up, craving the resolution, the clarity, the catharsis. Behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner might say you're conditioned, trapped in a loop where suffering feels like progress. And yet, there's a deeper layer. Existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre argued that humans are condemned to freedom, burdened by the need to create meaning in a meaningless world. Suffering, then, becomes your canvas, a way to prove you exist, to assert your will against chaos. But here's the tension. This drive to seek suffering isn't just creative, it's destructive. You've seen it in yourself, how you replay old wounds, how you choose the harder path not because it's better, but because it's familiar. This is the hidden problem. Suffering isn't just a byproduct of living, it's a choice you make, a habit you nurture, a story you tell yourself. And it's not just personal. Societies thrive on collective suffering. Wars, inequalities, cycles of resentment, because it fuels identity, purpose, even progress. But at what cost? The deeper you go, the more you see the consequences lurking, unseen yet profound, shaping your life and the world around you. What happens when this compulsion runs unchecked? What does it cost you, and what might it cost us all? You're caught in it now, aren't you? That invisible current pulling you towards suffering, the one you barely notice until it's swallowed you whole. You've seen its roots, psychological, philosophical, cultural. But what does it do to you, to the world, when you let it run unchecked? The consequences of seeking suffering aren't just personal. They ripple outward, shaping your reality, and the societies you inhabit in ways you rarely see until it is too late. This isn't about the obvious scars, lost sleep or broken relationships, but the subtle, insidious ways this compulsion reshapes your mind, your choices, and the very fabric of the world. What happens when suffering becomes not just a choice but a way of life? Start with your mind. Cognitive science reveals how seeking suffering warps your perception. Take the confirmation bias. You chase pain because it fits the story you already believe, that life is struggle, that worth comes from sacrifice. Every time you dwell on a regret or push yourself to exhaustion, you reinforce a neural pathway, a groove in your brain that says, "This is who I am." Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio would point out that your emotions and decisions are intertwined. The more you seek suffering, the more your brain craves it, mistaking intensity for meaning. You've felt this, haven't you? The way a fight with someone you love leaves you drained, but strangely validated, as if the pain proves the depth of your bond. Then there's the sunk cost fallacy. You pour time, energy, even love into things that hurt you, jobs, relationships, dreams, because you've already invested so much. Walking away feels like failure, so you double down, seeking more suffering to justify the past. Imagine a woman trapped in a toxic job, her health crumbling, yet she stays because she's come too far to quit. Her brain tricks her into thinking endurance is noble, but it's a trap, a cognitive distortion that chains her to pain. You've done this too, haven't you? Clung to something, a goal, a grudge, because letting go feels like losing part of yourself. Now zoom out to society. The collective pursuit of suffering fuels systems you barely notice. Consider how cultures glorify overwork, hustle culture, the 80-hour work week, the badge of "I'm so busy." Sociologist Max Weber called this the Protestant work ethic, a belief that suffering through labor is a moral good. But it's not just work. Look at the news, the endless cycle of outrage and division. People seek suffering in arguments, in tribalism, because it gives them identity, a cause to fight for. Social psychologist Jonathan Haidt might argue that this is moral foundations theory at play. We bond over shared pain, even when it tears us apart. The result? A society addicted to conflict, where suffering becomes the glue of community. These consequences aren't abstract, they're visceral. You feel them in the anxiety that keeps you up at night, in the way you sabotage your own happiness because it feels too easy. Neurologically, chronic stress from self-inflicted suffering rewires your brain, shrinking the prefrontal cortex and amplifying the amygdala's fear response. You become less rational, more reactive, trapped in a cycle where suffering begets more suffering. And society mirrors this. Entire systems, economies, politics, media, thrive on perpetuating pain because it's profitable, controllable, unifying. Why do you think dystopian stories resonate so deeply? They reflect a truth you already sense. A world built on suffering feels familiar, even inevitable. But here's the urgency. You're not just a victim of this cycle, you're a participant. Every time you choose the harder path, replay a painful memory, or chase a goal that breaks you, you're feeding the machine. The consequences are silent but cumulative. Burnout, fractured relationships, a life half-lived. And yet, there's a flicker of hope, a chance to break free. What if you could see through the illusion? What if the very thing that traps you, your hunger for suffering, could be redirected, transformed into something liberating? The path out isn't easy, but it's there, waiting for you to take the first step. Can you imagine a life where suffering isn't your master but your teacher? The rebellion begins now. You're standing at a crossroads, aren't you? The weight of your choices presses against your chest. The familiar pull of suffering on one side and on the other. A faint, daring whisper of something else. Freedom. Not the kind that comes from dodging pain, but the kind that comes from seeing it for what it is. A story you've been telling yourself, a habit you've worn into your soul. You've glimpsed the roots of this compulsion, felt its consequences erode your life and the world around you. Now the question isn't why you seek suffering, it's how you break free. How do you rewrite the script? How do you rebel against a force so ingrained it feels like your own heartbeat? The first step is a radical shift in perspective. Stop worshiping at the altar of struggle. You've been taught that suffering is the path to meaning, that pain is the price of worth. But what if that's a lie? Philosopher Albert Camus, staring into the absurd void of existence, didn't surrender to despair, he rebelled. He imagined Sisyphus, forever pushing his boulder, not as a victim, but as a defiant figure, finding joy in the act of resistance. You can do the same. Look at your life. The job that drains you, the grudges you nurse, the goals that break you. Ask yourself not, what must I endure, but what can I release? This is the rebellion spark, the refusal to let suffering define you. Psychologically, this means rewiring your mind. Cognitive behavioral therapy offers a clue. Your thoughts shape your reality. You seek suffering because you've internalized a narrative that equates pain with progress. Challenge it. When you catch yourself ruminating on a failure, pause. Ask, is this serving me or am I serving it? Redirect your focus to what aligns with your values, not your fears. This isn't about chasing happiness, that's another trap, but about choosing intention over autopilot. Neuroplasticity backs this up. Your brain can forge new pathways. Every time you choose curiosity over anguish, you weaken the grip of suffering's allure. History offers rebels to emulate. Take Nelson Mandela, who endured 27 years in prison, yet emerged not with bitterness but with a vision for reconciliation. His suffering wasn't his identity, it was his fuel. He didn't seek pain, but he used it, transforming it into purpose. Or consider Frida Kahlo, whose physical agony became the raw material for art that screamed with life. These figures didn't escape suffering. They reframed it. You can too. The next time you're tempted to cling to a painful memory or chase a soul-crushing goal, ask, what would it look like to transform this instead of endure it? Paint, write, build, forgive, not to escape pain, but to alchemize it. Practically, this rebellion demands counterintuitive moves. Set boundaries, even when they feel selfish. Say no to the job, the relationship, the expectation that demands your suffering as proof of loyalty. Practice radical acceptance, as psychologist Carl Rogers might suggest. Embrace your flaws, your limits, your humanity, not as sources of pain, but as truths that set you free. Meditate, not to numb yourself, but to observe your thoughts without being owned by them. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, knew this. You can't control the world, but you can control your response. Choose to see suffering as a signal, not a sentence. This isn't about erasing pain. Suffering is part of being human. It's about refusing to seek it, to stop inviting it into your life like an old friend. You've been conditioned to believe that struggle is your story, but what if you could write a new one? Imagine a life where your energy flows toward creation, connection, curiosity, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. The rebellion is this: you take back the pen, you decide what your pain means. But there's one final step, one ultimate truth waiting to be uncovered. A realization so profound it could redefine everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world. Are you ready to face it? You've walked this far, haven't you? Through the shadows of your own choices, through the weight of a world that glorifies struggle, through the rebellion that dared you to rewrite your story. But there's one final truth waiting, a revelation so sharp it cuts through the fog of your life and lays bare the heart of why you seek suffering. It's not just a habit, not just a trap, it's a mirror. Suffering is the lens through which you see yourself, the world, and your place in it. But what if you could shatter that mirror? What if the ultimate truth is that suffering isn't your destiny but your teacher, and the lesson it's been trying to teach you all along is not endurance but surrender? Picture this. You're standing in a vast, quiet desert, the horizon endless, the sky a bruise of stars. You've carried your burdens here, your regrets, your ambitions, your self-inflicted wounds. They're heavy, aren't they? But what if you set them down, not because you're weak, but because you're ready to see clearly? The ultimate truth is this: you seek suffering because you believe it defines you, that it's the only way to prove you're alive, worthy, real. But you're wrong. Your existence doesn't need pain to validate it. You are enough, not because of what you've endured, but because you are. This is the paradigm shift. Philosophers like Søren Kierkegaard wrestled with despair, calling it the sickness unto death, a refusal to embrace your true self. You seek suffering, Kierkegaard might say, because you're afraid of the void that comes with accepting who you are without it. But what if that void isn't emptiness? What if it's freedom? The moment you stop chasing pain to prove your worth, you step into a new way of being. You've felt glimpses of this, haven't you? In those rare moments when you let go of a grudge, when you walked away from a fight, when you chose peace over struggle and felt not weaker but whole. Science echoes this. Science. Neuroscientist Rick Hanson talks about taking in the good, rewiring your brain to savor moments of joy, connection, and ease, rather than defaulting to suffering's familiar sting. Your brain is biased toward negativity, wired to dwell on pain because it once kept you alive. But you're not running from predators anymore. You can choose to amplify the good, to let go of the need to suffer for meaning. This isn't escapism, it's evolution. It's the courage to redefine what makes you human, not struggle, but presence. Look at history's rebels who grasped this truth. The Buddha, sitting beneath the Bodhi tree, didn't conquer suffering by fighting it. He transcended it by seeing through the illusion of self. His enlightenment wasn't about erasing pain, but realizing it didn't own him. Or think of Maya Angelou, whose words rose from a life of trauma, not to glorify it, but to transform it into something radiant. These figures didn't seek suffering. They used it to uncover a deeper truth. You are not your pain. You are the awareness that holds it, the choice that shapes it, the light that outlasts it. Now imagine yourself again standing in that desert. The stars are brighter now, the air cooler. You drop your burdens. One by one, they fall, and you don't collapse. You stand taller. The world doesn't end. This is the cinematic truth. Suffering is not your master, nor your muse. It's a signal, a call to wake up. Stop seeking it. Stop running from it. See it for what it is, a teacher, not a truth. You are more than your struggles, more than the stories you've told yourself. What would it feel like to live that way? To wake each morning not chasing pain, but embracing possibility. Step forward now. The desert stretches on, but it's not barren. It's alive with potential. Every choice you make, every thought you redirect, every burden you release is an act of creation. You don't need suffering to prove you're here. You're here. That's enough. Let that truth haunt you, inspire you, reshape you. The world is waiting for what you'll do next.